then again in the ad hoc committee, and finally again in the plenary assembly, the delegation of Israel stands bewildered and dismayed by the grave implications of the draft resolution now before us. The unreality of the discussion in its last phases, culminating in the adoption by so considerable a majority in the ad hoc committee of this draft, has been to us depressing and profoundly disturbing. We believe that the clarity of vision and the earnestness of purpose of the entire assembly are now put to a test. We cannot believe that the majority opinion formed in the ad hoc political committee may be allowed to become a decree of fate. Still less the considered verdict of international statesmanship. The delegation of Israel refuses to reach the conclusion that the cause of reason has been lost, and that a last-minute appeal to cool judgment and a sense of realities must be doomed to futility. It does have the faith that saner counsels may yet prevail, and that dictates of justice and constructive statesmanship can still be made to triumph. In this final effort, sir, to oppose what appears to us to be a disastrous course and to urge a solution which is at once fair and practicable, the salient facts of the situation must briefly be restated. Ninth and last, Mr. President, the government of Israel readily acknowledges the authority of the United Nations concerning the holy places in Jerusalem and throughout the territory. Having expressed its view that the best form of safeguarding the stake of the international community in the sanctuaries of Jerusalem is by means of an agreement between the United Nations and Israel, having done that, my delegation by no means regards this as the only possible or acceptable way of meeting the issue. On the contrary, I want to make it clear that a resolution or statute adopted by the General Assembly, for which the Netherlands-Swedish resolution, as amended by Chile, might well serve as a starting point. A resolution or statute imposing the supervision of the United Nations over the holy places and requiring the government or governments concerned to acknowledge that supervision and cooperate with the United Nations representative in that regard would be equally acceptable to my government. We are indeed ready to pledge solemnly our wholehearted cooperation with that international representative, if he is appointed. We will contract that obligation in the full knowledge of the very grave responsibility which we would incur by any failure to comply with his legitimate injunctions. Mr. President, these being the determining facts of the situation, does not the solution which meets the interests of all concerned simply leap to the eye? It requires only normal judgment to see the way of establishing and upholding the authority of the United Nations in regard to the holy places of Jerusalem, not only without conflict with the rights, interests, and aspirations of the city's population, but in full harmony with them, not at the expense of the established government, but with its full and willing support. Here is the first chance in history of bringing the holy places and sites under the direct supervision of an international organ. Here is an unprecedented opportunity of achieving this high world purpose with the full accord and with the ready cooperation of the government concerned. The unique guarantee of the workability of this arrangement inherent in its unreserved acceptance by that government. Here, finally, is the invaluable asset of associating the entire population with responsibility for the implementation of that regime, for we have here to deal with a government deriving its authority from the freely expressed will of the people. And yet, pertinent questions are not disposed of by merely being shirked. They overhang the present discussion with ominous persistence. They burrow their way into the conscience of every delegate. If left unheeded, they will take their inexorable revenge. Where is the guarantee that this plan will work? How is it proposed to make it work? What magic is there in the hands of the Trusteeship Council to invent ways and means of implementation? What if it will have simply and honestly to admit failure? The purpose of the trusteeship system, as defined in the Charter, is to assist immature communities towards independence. Here, the Trusteeship Council is used to lead a mature and independent community to a state of subjection. Is it fair or wise? Is it an act of statesmanship? At another solemn moment in its history in antiquity, the words are, "For Zion's sake will I not hold my peace, and for Jerusalem's sake I will not rest, until the righteousness thereof go forth as brightness, and the salvation thereof as a lamp that shineth." Thank you, Mr. President.
The Honorable Delegate of Iceland.
Mr. President, would have to impose this solution on the states in control of Jerusalem and on the people living within that city. We are all aware that the United Nations does not at this moment have the forces nor the strength within itself to
10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 21, 36, 8, 10, 12, 15, 18, 20, 23, 25, 26, 29, 30, 32, 33, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Wait.